Hi, this is Mad Cat, and I'm doing another video. Still haven't figured out what my format is just yet, but I'm basically discussing about things that I find online, videos in response to. I spend a lot of time on Tumblr, and I see a lot of things there, and occasionally report on things I see, some things to respond to, or things to point out. Today, we're talking about Gamergate. I've actually tried to stay away from the Gamergate issue. Why? Well, it's because I don't think I really have anything to add that hasn't already been said. I have my own politics with it, which I will not discuss in this video unless I do it by accident and then I'm just contradicting myself. But this article that I saw actually has two different people expressing what they think Gamergate is about. And I think it's a really good not article, but a post on Tumblr because everyone has their side on this issue, and it seems like a lot of people are yelling, but no one's really talking to each other. So I'm kind of hoping that this video will help people see where everyone is standing. We all disagree with each other about what the issue is and what's at the center of it and things like that. And I think if we're going to move forward and try to find common ground, we need to understand where everyone is standing. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. I may offer a comment here or there to, but I'll try not to do that too often, whether I agree or disagree with what I'm reading with. I'm not going to be using different voices. I'll just identify who's saying what. The first post is what started this. The second post is a little bit of a response to the first one, but also a little bit of their viewpoint. So I'm linking down to it in the video below. So go ahead and check out the discussion for yourself. And it's titled A Brief Response to Gamergate. So this was by Sci-Fi Magpie. She starts out, hello, hello. Actually, I don't know if it's a he or she. I apologize if you're a he. Yeah. So sorry, I didn't mean to imply gender on this one. Hello, hello. This is probably one of the scariest posts I've ever written. Merely mentioning Gamergate, the misogynist scandal that has been setting the gaming world on fire, is grounds for online attacks, vicious comments, and doxing. Doxing is the release of personal information such as someone's address. I avoided talking about it because there were better and more prominent people who have said their bit. There's also the whole thing Felicia Day getting doxxed the minute she wrote a compassionate post about the topic. I'm not Felicia Day. I'm not even a particularly good gamer. A lot of my gaming is done from the back seat. But I cried over Morden's death, shuddered at Dead Space Stalkers, spent hours every day in Gothic Underworld, laughed at reviews, and I can even tell you who some of the top stars in DOTA 2 are, as well as their original teams and the shakeups that happen after the recent international. My point is, I'm still enough of a gamer to give a crap about this. And because I'm a feminist on the internet, I care even more. I'm probably safe due to my relative anonymity, but merely opening my face and mentioning the topic is a risk. Well, it's worth talking about. I agree, it is worth talking about. Gamergate is not about the responsibility of game journalism. Zoe Quinn did nothing wrong, but her ex-boyfriend made allegations that she cheated on him with gaming journalists, which didn't result in a career bump of any kind, and which happened while they were on a break. Furthermore, it's none of your business what a woman does with her body regardless of who she is with or where she works. The other target had been Anita Sarkeesian. I don't agree with every bit of her analysis, but she's very good at evaluating things according to trends. We already know how I feel about Anita. She's good at providing an intro to feminism. And for this, and for calling out the gaming industry on sexist writing issues. She's gotten death threats and bomb threats. So already, I know that this is some misinformation. Um, this person has written this very well. So I would presume that this person is intelligent, which tells me that they're not getting all the information they need if they think that this is just about Zoe Quinn. But let me go on. If the Gamergate crowd actually wanted to make gaming journalism and people within the industry more responsible, they'd stop threatening physical violence and act like journalists themselves. They'd do their research. They'd focus on things that matter, like the 322 match fixing issue that's setting the DOT Anniverse on fire right now. They'd stop going after women who haven't done anything wrong. And if the actual gaming journalists and reviewers were responsible human beings, they'd address their fan base and tell them to stop making bomb threats, doxing people, and harassing them. A few have, but a few other prominent celebrities have just put an unintentional seal of approval on the events. Still, others haven't said anything, which is worse. So, how do we stop Gamergate? We address it. We, as geeks, stand together and say that we will not support who makes sexist attacks or death threats against against fellow geeks or non-geeks or anyone. The thing is, we need to include everyone, not just feminists and people of color. We need the white dude bros who don't want to be represented by Gamergate to speak up, to reject what a few handfuls of lonely, hurt, reactionary people have said about women in gaming. This is starting to happen. And this is a link to a medium.com article, why Gamergate pisses me the F off. And sexism is starting to become unacceptable. Sexism has always been unacceptable, but okay. Unfortunately, people still do it without realizing that they're saying something awful. I agree. Which brings me to a Yahtzee Crawshaw article that made me so sad I lost sleep over it. But that will have to wait until next time. Interesting that this person didn't link that article despite linking the other article. I guess it is a woman. Her name's Michelle. Okay, so that was basically her response, and it's well written. And she raises some points, but I believe that many of those points are out of ignorance of what's going on. Again, I'm not trying to insert my own things, but she seems to think that Gamergate is about what Zoe Quinn did, that it's about sexism and it's about attacking women, and that the pro Gamergate side is basically men, and that the responsibility of responsible game journalists comes to non-journalists, and has pretty much said this is not about responsibility in gaming journalism, despite everyone in Gamergate basically saying that. So, no offense to Sci-Fi Magpie, but in all honesty, you didn't really say anything. You're basically addressing what everyone else has said and have even tried to meet people halfway. You're telling everyone, Stop thinking about what you think it is and admit that it is what we think it is. So, okay, so the response is by Spidey Girl Blog. I'm quite certain they are a female. Okay, so their response. Hi. Even browsing your post, I can see you don't know much about the conflict. See, by saying Zoe did nothing wrong, you immediately tip your hand and show how biased and uninformed you are. So this lists some of the things that Zoe did. Zoe slept with her boss, which is an unethical issue due to conflict of interest. Well, that is a very true point. Um, Someone shouldn't be, well, you shouldn't have like sexual relations within the workplace, but especially with a person of power or influence, because that can create a conflict of interest. It can also create a negative work environment, and kind of also makes it that, if your coworkers found out about this and perceived you getting special treatment, it's just like a lawsuit waiting to happen. So it's generally something you don't do. Plus the fact that her boss was married, so he basically cheated on his wife with her, slept with Grayson, who covered her side of the game jam only, positive press, collusion, slept with Arnott, who gave her game a spot on night games. That's a free publicity from a chair of the convention. Collusion. She harassed the fine young capitalists, resulted in them being doxxed and hacked. The Fine Young Capitalists is a feminist group that was trying to get women into game design. I don't fully understand everything that was about. You'd have to go and read the history, but I do know that Zoe Quinn was trying to defame them to try to bring her game Depression Quest more attention. I don't really know what one has to do with the other, but okay. She falsely accused Wizard Chan of attacking her. They proved she made it up. The Escapist even released a public apology to Wizard Chan for not believing Quinn's story. And this seems to happen a lot in game journalism, that if a person comes, especially a woman, says, "Oh, well, I'm being sexually harassed and all these bad things are happening," game journalism seems to print it immediately without doing any fact checking. She is a rapist by her own definition. I don't know what her Zoe Quinn's policy is on rape, but there you go. I don't know if that's true. People have been going through the Zoe post, people with psychological degrees, and I think it's claiming she is showing signs of clear emotional and psychological abuse. Oh, wait. I guess this is talking about, the Zoe post. Okay. So basically, the guy that came out and talked about her that pretty much started Gamergate, people claimed that with psychology degrees, psychological, are claiming he is showing signs of clear emotional and psychological abuse by the hands of Zoe. It does come down to a he said, she said. I mean, we're only basing it off the article that he wrote. I mean, we don't really have any conclusive evidence of some of the things that he said. So people weren't mad at Zoe because she was a woman. They were mad because she was corrupt. I don't know if it's necessarily fair to say that Zoe was corrupt. I think it's fair to say that she tried to corrupt the process in her favor. You realize this if you also paid attention to Max Temkin and Indy Static cases, which dragged individuals' personal lives into the limelight who were also vilified. And they were men. People expected Zoe to take responsibility, like the Temkin and Indy Static people did before, though in Temkin's case, he did so even though he didn't have to, as it was an accusation. She didn't. I don't know anything about Temkin and Indy Static. Instead, we found out that the press was colluding to stay quiet on it and to avoid publishing articles about her personal life, even though they were fine doing it to the other two aforementioned incidents. Likewise, if you're if you've been paying attention, something awful came forward to claim the harassment of Anita and potentially Brianna Wu on top of GNAA, a well-known third-party troll group, has come into discussion with the intent of harassing others and sabotaging the hashtag. I don't know anything about something awful or the GNAA. You don't seem to notice What you don't seem to notice is that Gamergate is actively hunting down people who are releasing doxing info. They've actually identified and reported the men harassing Anita to the FBI. He is a Brazilian clickbait vlogger trying to rack up his hits on YouTube channels by stirring controversy. You also probably didn't hear about the numerous doxing and harassment of pro Gamergate people. King of Paul was sent a knife in the mail with a letter telling him to kill himself. Milo was sent a syringe of unidentified liquid in the mail. The creator of Not Your Shield hashtag was fired due to workplace harassment for being pro Gamergate. Mike Chernovich was swatted, SAWT, SWAT, as in fake police reports being filed against him, and has been forced to flee his home and stay in a hotel. We've almost had one individual commit suicide because of the harassment he got. See, this is the thing that the other side, the anti-Gamergate side, doesn't seem to understand. Pro Gamergate acknowledges that there has been death threats to anti-Gamergate people, and they're unfortunate, but it's like this person, the pro gamer commenter, is saying is that we try to find those people and get them reported to the FBI. We don't tolerate that stuff. But it seems like the anti-Gamergate doesn't seem to understand that pro Gamergates are also getting threatened. And it's always, oh, well, we're getting threatened all the time, and you're the ones doing the threats. And then if someone else tries to suggest, well, I've gotten death threats too, it's like, oh, well, you're just probably making that up. We're not, or they don't acknowledge it at all. So, person goes on. Oh, and you say we should do our research? Well, how about the fact that we have obtained the Game Journal Pro list, an email list that has game journal lists actively concluding. I believe that was kind of a Google group. I heard of a Google group doing this, but it was basically a Google group where everyone got together and they post their stuff, and it's like whatever the group opinion was, that's what all journalists had to follow. So if they say, well, let's not report on Gamergate, there you go. There was also the incidents where it's like, I don't know, 12 different journalists from different sites basically said gamers are dead to try to squash this, and that obviously failed. So we do have proof that this is actually true, more than the actual screenshots. Proven that an illegal blacklist exists and a Destructoid employee was put on it. Sorry, my throat's drying up. I don't know anything about Destructoid, but I heard about that blacklist. Proven EA had the help of Kotaku in covering up a mass hack of their player accounts, up to 40,000 accounts hacked. Yeah, that's pretty bad, and that's something that does need to be reported, but Kotaku, for whatever reason, decided not to do it. And it probably disseminated that in the Game Journos group. No one else do it either. prove that Leia Alexander of Game Sutra fixes the narrative of the Guardian email of the Guardian email confirms writers were told not to investigate Gamergate and wait for Leah to tell them about it. And you've probably haven't also heard Gamergate donated over 70,000 to the Fine Young Capitalists to get their pro women in game design program up and running. Now, this is, like it's mentioned, this is a feminist group, and if what anti-Gamergate people are saying is that we're against women having a voice within gaming, then why was it Gamergate that did this, that supported a feminist group to get women in gaming? That's the one thing that the anti side never seems to really bring up. Donated almost an additional 30K to additional charities, including anti bullying, depression help, UNICEF, and feeding the hungry. None of the doxings are actually tied to Gamergate. So a lot of the doxings of anti-Gamergate people have been presumed to be part. The doxings of anti-Gamergate people have no one's actually proven that they were by pro-Gamergate people. Gamergate has a sister hashtag called Not Your Shield, which is filled with women, minorities, LGBT that supports the revolt. See, this came mostly with the a gamer is dead and this identifying that, and feminists have been doing this for a number of years, trying to say that gamers are just 30 something pimpled face neckbeards living in their mom's basement, white, straight, and just try to single this out and say, well, we need to destroy this, and with the whole gamer is dead. And a lot of social justice warriors and anti-gamergaters were saying, well, we represent women, and women, gays, people of color, they're getting sick and tired of gamers being like a boys only club. And a lot of people came out, it's like, hey, stop using me for your attack. You're on your own. Don't include me. And that's where Not Your Shield came from. Excuse me. The last point in this little thing, most Microsoft employees and indie devs have come out to support the revolt. Almost everything you said is misinformed, almost hilariously so. You've done none of your own research. You've sat there happy to be told what to think about Gamergate, yet never even took a second to dig. I kind of agree with that. I don't think it's hilarious, but the person clearly didn't do their own research. They probably went to a feminist site and says, okay, here are all the things about Gamergate. It's this, Zoe Quinn, voila. And that's where they formed their opinion. And truthfully, you need to look at everything. Anti-Gamergate people, here's what I say to you. You need to look at everything. You can't just say, oh, well, they just hate women. They're misogynist, and that's what all of this is about. When they keep saying, we love women, we want them in gaming, we're against the unethical journalistic practices of gaming journalism. They keep saying that, and you somehow is like, well, they say that, but they don't mean it. Going back to this, and if you're anything like the anti-Gamergate crowd, you'll see this as harassment, but it isn't. It's a disagreement. I disagree with your statement made, and I have opened a dialogue. No more. And for the sake of civility, I ask my followers not to dogpile her with replies or comments. I've said what I had to say. Don't give her any reason to think harassment is going on. Have a good day. And that's a very mature thing to do. Person gives their opinion, person argues their opinion. Nothing more needs to really be said. And I'm not trying to dogpile on this person. Like I said, she's clearly intelligent, well written post, all the capitalization, punctuation in the right place. Not something you see on Tumblr. I'm a little impressed. And she's trying to make, an argument based on what she knows. The only criticism I have for Michelle is that she's not getting all of the correct information. And we can tell this because of how she addressed things. She immediately says, well, this is not about journalism, this is about sexism and Zoe Quinn, and spends some time on that. So I think this is really good because, like I said, we're seeing where the anti Gamergates are sexism and where pro Gamergates are journalism. And we need to find a way to bridge these gaps. We need to find a way to say, okay, this is what we perceive as going on, and this, and this. And then the other side saying, well, we can understand where you might see that. And maybe at first it was about that, but then we moved on to about this, and this. And then the first side's like, oh, okay. Well, I don't think it'll happen, but oh, okay. Well, yeah. Oh, well, okay. Well, we can agree on those points that there is a problem here. Um, as long as we keep the sexism out, let's focus. See, this is what I want. I want there to be a balance where we say, okay, let's try to do something. But it's human nature for us to keep fighting with each other, especially when we're part of groups like feminists. Um, I have my own problems with feminists, with the radical feminists, the passive feminists, and the only feminists I tend to like are the egalitarian feminists, but they are few and far between. Christina Hoff Sommers would be an example of what I would consider to be an egalitarian feminist. I myself am an egalitarian, so take from this what you will. I've read both sides. I haven't distorted anything to make one side appear better than the other. If you look at all of this and still say, you know what, I disagree with Gamergate, more power to you. But if you look at this and say, you know what, you can say anything you want about Gamergate, I already know what the truth is, and nothing you can say could dissuade me, then you are a very poor individual. Poor as in quality, not your wealth. And I feel bad for you. And I hope, Michelle, I hope the original poster, Sci Fi Magpie, that you take an opportunity to read this and really look into all of these points. And I also think Batgirl Bits and Bolts, what was that name again? Scroll. The Spidey Girl blog. Every time I see it, I think Batman, even though it's clearly the Dark Spider-Man. Maybe it's girl because there's pink on the costume. I don't know. So I do think Spidey Girl blog, she was very mature. She didn't try attacking the person. She gave a disagreement of it. And the one thing that both sides need to understand, but especially anti-Gamergate and feminists, that just because someone disagrees with you is not a reason, is not a form of harassment. We need discussion. And part of discussion is people disagreeing with each other to try to find a common ground and to reach new heights. If everyone agreed with each other all the time, the world would be a horrible place. There's not much more I can say on this. If I find any more interesting articles on Gamergate, I might, well, not articles, but posts, I might do another video, but I'm really trying to stay away from it because there's nothing more I can add. So last thing I'll say is I just really hope that we can come to a resolution to this and stop having two sides fight each other. We need to go back to just enjoying what we enjoy and be one again. And I know that's wishful thinking, but that's just how I personally feel.